Hello, this is Danny Raymond, the voice behind Ray's Guide, and today I want to talk about a question I've been having, and that is, what is gold standard? Currently, we have one ship that has been described as gold standard, the Gladius, and others on the roadmap and progress reports that are said to be being brought to gold standard. But what does that mean specifically? When, for example, the 600i is brought to gold standard, what specifically will we see differently about it, and what won't we see? CIG undoubtedly has a gold standard checklist for the programmers to work from, but it hasn't been published, so I am left with surmising from the changes that occurred to the Gladius, plus things that wouldn't have appeared on the Gladius, plus would on other ships that CIG has been talking a lot about. Now, I'm presuming that I can't possibly be 100% right on this, but if it spurs CIG to give us a clearer list of what will and won't be on the gold standard checklist, I'll have done my job. First, though, I find their use of the term gold standard intriguing. Because in the 1990s, the era of the Wing Commander games, the use of gold in reference to a game had a very specific and significant meaning that may or may not be influencing their use of it here today. At the start of the 1990s, games switched from being delivered on floppy disks to being delivered on CD-ROM disks. And while CDs are silverish, the recordable CDs of the day were golden, and to say that a game had gone gold was a shorthand for saying that the golden CD had been created. And not just any golden CD, of course, but the one that would be shipped to the plant where tens of thousands of CDs would be created from it and be put in tens of thousands of shrink-wrapped boxes and placed on thousands of store shelves. After that gold disc was made, there was literally nothing for the programmers to do. They knew that the team would soon be either laid off or reassigned to different projects. So it was understandably a time of intense yet mixed emotions. By the end of the 1990s, of course, it was presumed that every game PC was connected to the internet, so gold simply meant switching from the incomplete game that would be on the CD to the day zero patch that would make sure nobody actually saw how bad the game on the CD was. The only thing the gold CD had to have on it was a bulletproof game patch downloader and installer. So the absolute finality of the early 90s gold disc won't ever be the case again. But it may be influencing their thinking. So, for example, one non-CIG person I asked said that gold standard meant finished for Squadron 42, which was really exciting to hear somebody use the words finished and Squadron 42 in the same sentence without irony or negativity. Hey, at this point, I'll take any small win. So working from the Gladius and observation of CIG statements, here is what I think is on that gold standard checklist. 1. Probably the most anticipated feature, the ability to have all components physicalized and accessible. In older, non-gold standard ships, we have no idea where the components might be, or there are panels labeled with what might be behind them that don't operate, or panels that do open, but what's behind them is just one face of the component. This has implications for a wide variety of systems and career gameplay. The most obvious one is salvage. Ripping out the components of a ship will be one of the first and most profitable parts of salvage and won't require a specialized ship. Ships with both cargo beds and tractors, like the Nomad and Caterpillar, will excel at it. There are also implications regarding repair gameplay and field upgrading of your ship loadout. 2. Ships will, as appropriate, have physicalized weapon and spacesuit storage locations. Now, a good question will be what ships are appropriate. Would, for example, the Prospector need a place to store a rifle and a set of armor? The Gladius, for example, has an external rifle storage bay, but has no place for a suit of armor. In the future, if you can't sit in the pilot's seat in heavy armor, then this will have strong tactical implications for Gladius owners. 3. Some area on the ship for miscellaneous item storage accessed through the inventory manager system. For example, the Hercules already has a lot of ship storage areas in the inner side of the top deck. Every ship will have at least a little of this, and players will undoubtedly find all sorts of uses for it. 4. The ship will be enabled for ship armor and for component damage, which won't actually get implemented until all, or at least most ships are enabled for it. And boy, will that be a change when it happens. Until now, every space game, and even most space combat movies, follow the same model. Damage that isn't absorbed by shields subtracts from a pool of ship hit points. When the ship hit points pool hits 0, there is a big obvious overthrow moment, also known as boom, and the player is dead and the ship is debris. Instead, damage past shields will go to armor, and damage past armor will go possibly to the individual ship components, including engines, thrusters, etc., or, if extremely unlucky, you. Components will fail, and the ship will have increasing problems functioning. Eventually, there will still need to be a boom, only because there needs to be something to tell the opponent that they can stop shooting. But unless you were so unlucky to get a personal fatal hit or a critical explosion of the engine, you won't be dead. You'll be adrift in an inert derelict. Then what do? Call for a rescue, call for a tow, get to the escape pods, call a repair ship, try to fix it yourself? The persistent universe will feel much less like an arcade shooter and a lot more like an ongoing epic story. 5. Enabling for hull stripping and patching salvage. CID has already shown artwork for a multi-tool attachment that can melt hull metal from a wreck and then spray it back to repair damage. How much could a multi-tool hold? Not much, but if your problem is that there is a bullet hole leaking all the air out of your ship, a little bit may be all you need. This is just the start on rifle-sized tools all the way up to repair drones on the Vulcan and maybe Carrack, the Vulture, and the Reclaimer. 6. This is more of a maybe, but if the gold standard is supporting hull scraping, it makes sense to also support its big brother, frame grinding on the Reclaimer, the last stage of the salvage loop. 7. A fuel port and support processes. This will allow 3 things. First, the refueling by the Starfarer. The second is refueling by a drone, such as on the Vulcan. And third is salvaging of fuel by the same sources. Since the Gladius has only one port, we can presume that this clever device can handle both hydrogen and quantum fuels. 8. All surfaces inside and out to have all the necessary properties defined to work with the newest hard surface and organic shaders, and by extension the Gen 12 renderer with Vulcan support. Shiny surfaces will be shinier, matte surfaces richer, and leather surfaces more leathery, all with greater efficiency from the graphics card. 9. All surfaces would be enabled for showing dirt and wear properly, as they should. 10. If hull names are expected to be showable for the ship, then they will be enabled. 11. This may be a maybe, but it will be big if it is included, and that is the advanced engineering and damage control gameplay that CIG has been talking about, including fires, fire control, power relays, power distribution, and all that jazz. This wasn't going to affect single-seat ships like the Gladius and Sabre, but we may see it when the planned elevation of the 600i to gold standard hits. 12. And finally, fully realized cockpit controls. We've seen this on several of the recent ships, but not on older ships, that everything you might need to control from the keyboard key bindings, landing gear, lights, etc., all have a specific button, switch, or such in the actual cockpit. Not that you aren't likely going to still use the key bindings anyway, but the detail and immersion of Star Citizen is uncompromising if you wish. Now, to even things out, let's talk about a couple of the things which we know from the example of the Gladius are not part of gold standard. 1. The first is manufacturer-specific HUD that we have seen prototyped. Is that because the HUD really isn't part of the ship at all? Probably. 2. Balance. Nothing in the gold standard Gladius changed the balance, so we can expect that nothing in the other gold standard ships will change that either. It will have to wait. 3. And finally, the last thing not included is the future. While I am sure that the design of the ships is being made with hooks for future features, the harsh reality is that further R&D is still happening both inside and outside of CIG. Will that likely lead to needing to revisit the gold standard ships as some sort of gold plus standard or platinum standard or whatever? It's certainly possible. Which brings me back to the gold discs. The blessing and the curse of the gold disc was their finality. When the disc was burnt and sent out for duplication, it was done. If there was to be any future, it would be a different game with a different name on a different disc. Sorry if that ending is a bit of a bummer, but what isn't a bummer is the Help the Channel Get Monetized giveaway. As of this recording, we are 69% of the subscriber goal and 22% of the watch hour goals to trigger some lucky subscriber getting their choice of either the RSI Scorpius sub-heavy fighter or the ATAC Raelian armed transport. To clarify, the winner will get the Scorpius and a Raelian upgrade certificate that they can choose to apply or not. To apply or not to apply? That is the question. All you have to do is be a subscriber and comment with the secret word. And the secret word for this video is the word that I was excited to see in the same sentence as Squadron 42. One entry per subscriber per video. Good luck. Fly safe, keep it real, and I'll see you in the verse. This is Danny Raymond for Ray's Guide.